Back when I first started working with SIP, there was just one notion of the public telephone network. It was the PSTN, the Public Switched Telephone Network, which, as Wiki tells us, is the aggregate of the world's circuit-switched telephone networks operated by national, regional or local telephony operators, providing infrastructure and services for public telecommunication. Well, that's the combination of the British Telecoms, the Bells, China Telecoms, AT&Ts, France Telecoms, etc. of this world, all of the telephone service providers, originally with their racks of electromechanical switches, then digital switches that switched between local, national and international trunk circuits. Now, from 1975, the PSTN began using signalling system number 7 as its signalling protocol for setting up and tearing down regular PSTN calls. So back in the early days of SIP, there was only one way to call from a SIP phone to a regular phone, through a PSTN gateway, connected to the internal LAN over IP on one side and to the external PSTN lines on the other, translating from SIP internally to SS7 externally. Now, the PSTN gateway uses a media gateway to transcode between the different media formats. But the public telephone network of the 90s is not the public telephone network of today. In fact, most telephone service providers have long since swapped out the old circuit switching equipment from their network core, replacing it with a new IP SIP infrastructure. Most often now, it's only the last mile from the local exchange to the PSTN phone endpoint that still uses circuit switching and SS7 signalling, and even that's beginning to disappear. Nowadays, to call from a SIP phone to a regular phone on the public network, the calls typically SIP for all but the last mile. Calls from private SIP networks to the public telephone network today are mostly via SIP trunks, direct IP connections to the TSP, rather than through PSTN gateways. We'll talk about both in the next lessons. So, just to be clear, there are different interpretations of the public telephone network, depending on who you talk to and when you ask the question. Some based on legacy circuit switching and others based on SIP. In my view, a more up-to-date definition of the public telephone network is the aggregate of the world's telephone networks operated by national, regional or local telephony operators, providing infrastructure and services for public telecommunication. That's still true, with some circuit switching, but mostly SIP.